Welcome back to News Talk. The first two Republican presidential debates have drawn huge audiences, and it's likely that we'll see strong ratings for the next GOP encounter and for the Democrats' first debate, which takes place next month. But are the debates hitting on the issues the American people care about most? On ABC's This Week on Sunday, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida complained that there was barely any discussion of the economy, student debt, and the challenges facing the middle class. Let's listen.
We had a 3-hour debate, no discussion about the national debt, very little about the economy. It was a constant he said, she said, what do you say because so-and-so called you this name or that name. And quite frankly, it might be entertaining for a few minutes, but there are people out there living paycheck to paycheck. There are young Americans that owe thousands of dollars in student loans. None of that was discussed the other night. And I think it's disappointing to people that while they are struggling, the political class, Washington, the media, and everyone else is focused on some of these other things.
Joining us now here on News Talk, Maryland State Senator Jamie Raskin. He's a candidate for the House seat being vacated by Congressman Chris Van Hollen. Rafi Williams is Deputy Press Secretary for the RNC. Great to have both of you here. Thanks very much for your time. Is Senator Rubio right, Senator Raskin? Have these debates missed the mark in terms of the challenges people face day to day?
Of course he's right. I mean, this is great entertainment we've been seeing, but it's got nothing to do with public policy, and it's not addressing the basic issues that the American people want to hear about and need to hear about. So we're hearing nothing about universal pre-K. We're hearing nothing about paid family leave. We're hearing nothing, as he said, about moving America towards some form of debt-free college financing so people can graduate from college without being saddled with tens of thousands of dollars of debt. Much less are we hearing anything about global warming or climate change, and there Marco Rubio is part of the problem. I mean, these people don't utter the words, and if you ask them about it, they say, I'm not a scientist, which is clear to America, but then you should listen to the scientists, but they're not addressing this overwhelming challenge that the whole world is facing right now.
Rafi Williams?
Well, I think that what they're dealing with right now is the fact that the Democrat frontrunner Hillary Clinton is untrustworthy. So you're trying to establish, are these people trustworthy? Are the candidates people I can believe in? We're trying to get a sense of what's going on in foreign policy became especially important in the CNN debate, and that's because we have Secretary Clinton who let down America in terms of foreign policy. He's taken us some steps backwards. We've seen that President Obama has proven to be somebody we really can't trust to dictate the office of the White House in a proper way, and so that's what we're dealing with right now. That's what people want to get to. Who are these candidates? Can I trust them?
Do you think the debates have connected to the issues that are the focus of family discussion and anxiety? Or do you think that, has Senator Rubio indicated that they've strayed from the market?
Well, I think we could do with a little more focus on economic engines, how we can grow this country and get the economy back on track. But I do think a lot of the anxieties that people face today are fears of growing terrorism in the Middle East, what we're going to do with Russia, what happened to that pivot that Clinton did to the east of Asia there, and failed on us. So we failed on Ukraine, we failed on Russia, so people are anxious about that, though I do think we need to have more discussion about the economy.
Well, I feel like it's just a continuation of the debates. It's all Hillary Clinton's fault. It's the Democrats' fault that they're not talking. You know, they had many hours where they could actually put on the table some concrete policy proposals, which none of them did, to deal with the basic issues facing Americans, and we just didn't hear it. And, you know, our side could be criticized for not having enough debates, fine, but when we have our debates, we're going to be talking about those basic issues that face Americans, and we're just not hearing it. It's a form of entertainment that we're getting.
Well, first off, the media is in charge of the debates and the questions that are asked. It's not the candidates or the party itself. And you have seen people like Jeb Bush who put together tax plans. You have seen these kind of ideas come from the right and ways that we can improve the country. They haven't been asked about on the stage, and you can't compare it favorably to what the Democrats are doing with just giving stump speeches. You can't compare debates to just giving empty speeches.
I feel like we're hearing a lot about Planned Parenthood. They repeat it over and over like a mantra. You know, that's America's leading reproductive health care provider that has 3 million patients, and they're talking about shutting down the government in order to defund Planned Parenthood. But do they have a plan to deal with climate change? Do they have a plan to deal with big money in politics and the takeover of our politics by large corporations and the dark money coursing through our elections? None of it. You don't hear any of it.
But you guys aren't discussing the dark money that's coursing through when you talk about Hillary Clinton and the money that goes to the Clinton Foundation, whether it's coming from foreign entities. You don't talk about it when it comes to her deep ties to Wall Street, whether it comes to her hiding an email server.
Are there plans that the Republicans have to deal with any of these issues? What is your plan for dealing with corporate dark money?
Well, I mean, what are you saying the corporate dark money is being put in through what? Through super PACs is your idea here?
It's traveling through C4s. We have corporations putting money through the C4 entities.
Democrats have C4s that are working as well. You talk about Media Matters, you talk about these other outside
You're pointing fingers, but what we need is actual proposals for progress. See, that's what's missing. There's a lot of
trying to harbor free speech now, though.
If there's a takeaway lesson for the journalists who are going to be in command of the questions and the agenda at future debates that candidates from both parties are involved in, is one of the takeaways potentially that you need to make sure that the anxieties of the middle class, the challenges of the middle class get reflected in the questions that are posed.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, we know that there's going to be rhetoric at these debates, and that's fine. That's part of a great American political tradition. But once you get beyond the rhetoric, people are waiting for actual concrete policy proposals on how to deal with these questions, and we've heard none of it there.
Do you think the emergence and the perhaps surprising staying power of Donald Trump has altered the trajectory of the race, the dynamic and tone of the race? No one expected him to leap into the first spot, and to the extent that that was a possibility, no one expected him to have the staying power that he has. Has that thrown things off a bit? Is that why we're getting the types of debates we've had till now?
Well, I think you're seeing that we had 24 million people watch the first debate, 20 million watch the second. So it's bringing eyeballs to the Republican Party, Republican ideas. It's highlighting what Republicans think in terms of foreign policy, who these people are, what you can believe in, and giving them greater exposure than they would have had before. Now, to your point, I do think that Donald Trump has changed the trajectory of this race. Nobody expected him to come in, and the way it's being shaped and formed now, we'll see what happens in the future. But it's made it interesting. It's brought more eyeballs into the party.
I mean, Donald Trump has injected incredible negativity into their debate. He's hostile. He lampoons people. He mocks people. And that has, I think, soured the whole experience for the candidates on their side. Meantime, his policy proposals come off the top of his head. Let's build a wall in Mexico. So Scott Walker says, let's build a wall in Canada. Next debate, they'll probably propose, putting a dome over the whole country and barbed wire around North America. I mean, this is the level of discussion we're getting from them.
But you're looking at Donald Trump, who's able to connect with the American people. That's why he's been so effective, as opposed to your frontrunner, Hillary Clinton, who's not able to connect. There's a whole story in the Globe this morning about how her lack of empathy is hurting her on the campaign trail in New Hampshire especially. And that's why you see Bernie Sanders surging. You have a socialist surging in your party in Iowa and New Hampshire.
Her comment that she was dead broke shows arguably a disconnect. But when you think about the resources that her family has had and had access to for quite a long time now, she says they were dead broke. A lot of people would love to be that dead broke.
Yeah. Look, I mean, Trump is a charlatan and a fraud, and he's been appealing to pandering to fascistic impulses in the public. It's very clear. But I agree that we need to address the fundamental economic issues that are facing the country. And how are we going to revive the right to organize and collective bargaining in the country? What are we going to do to close the extraordinary wage and income gaps that have grown up? But the Republicans aren't talking about any of it.
I have to hit a break in about 30 seconds. Are you worried that the Democratic debate, maybe because of the moderators, maybe because of other causes, that it will be more driven toward middle-class economic anxiety?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think that we're going to see further debates in the Republican side deal on that issue for certain.
Ralphie Williams, Jamie Raskin, stand by for just a moment. We'll pause here. We'll take a break. Back with more News Talk for a Monday here on News Channel 8 right after this.